Surprise!
Punch
Eric always acts all quiet so we don't scare our listeners. But I don't care about that, and Eric's not here. Punch it, Wes. What is up, nerds? Welcome back to the show. This week, I'm in charge. I'm in charge now, Phasma. I'm in charge, all right? Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Dr. Corey Helton, founder of Utini, and we are missing our incredible host tonight. Eric Eilerson is in Disney World, having a blast. He sent us lots of pictures. He texted us a few minutes before the show started and said his plane just touched down, so he did not crash somewhere between Orlando and Charlotte. Unfortunately, he will be back here next week. But I am joined tonight by the usual cast and crew, minus our delectable lead host.
Delicious.
Starting with, delicious, delectable, tasty. These are all adjectives you could use to describe the inimitable Dr. Charles Hankel. Hello.
Wow, I understood 2 of those 4 words. How's everybody doing? I am glad to be here. I'm really interested to see how tonight's going to go for a variety of reasons that I'm sure you're about to tell our wonderful audience about. But I mostly just want to see, how does this experience stack up to me and Wes's Dead or Nah? Because these are the moments that the podcast is really put to the test, is when Eric is not here, what happens? But this time we've added you in, Corey.
That sounds good. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Charles. Hold on a second. I have to ask ChatGPT a question really fast. We're also joined by another one. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to saddle up and experience a podcast episode that's about to be bigger, bolder, and Texan to the core. Today we have a special host joining us, the true embodiment of Southern charm and a Lone Star spirit.
Wow.
Wow. They really beefed me up there. Texan to the core. And what's up, everyone? Glad to be here. We're going to try to put some energy behind our voices because Eric isn't here, our Lord and Savior, Eric Organa. So we're going to, we're going to try to replace him, but we won't. So we're going to do it like artificially intelligently.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And thank you for that tease, Wes. And to dive into our show tonight, if you didn't guess already, tonight's show is entirely determined by AI, minus some bits and pieces here and there. It's been a big running joke that I'm obsessed with AI at Utini. Everyone on the team is afraid that I'm going to replace them with robots, even though the robots can't write for shit. So I'm not going to do that. But I thought it would be fun to, I've seen a lot of content creators doing fun stuff with AI, and I figured it's time for Living Force to give it a shot. Tonight, we're going to let our show be controlled by the robots, our future overlords. But, before we dive into that, thank you for joining us, everybody, tonight. We always kind of kick things off with talking about just how things are going a little bit in our own personal lives. I just got back from Lenore, North Carolina yesterday. I've been out there for a week doing some hospitalist work. And I think I picked up pharyngitis. So I'm kind of sick. I feel like crap, and I'm going to fake it because I'm all drugged up on cold medicine. But Charles, what you been up to this week, man?
Well, I've managed to dodge pharyngitis. I last night went to a concert, been to a lot of live music recently. I told you guys about the festival I went to last weekend.
That's right.
Last night went to an outdoor concert for Quinn 92, which was phenomenal. Beautiful night. Nice way to spend a Sunday evening to kind of fend off the Sunday scaries. And of course, I'm ramping up for Miami. The Miami Heat has continued its wonderful run in the NBA playoffs, and they are now in the conference finals against the Boston Celtics starting on Wednesday night. So I am going to have some bags under my eyes in subsequent weeks when I have to stay up late for all of these games. But we actually have a bunch of Celtics fans, or a fair number of Celtics fans in the Utini community, and I think I'm the only Heat fan. So pray for me, y'all.
Wes, what have you been up to this week, man?
I'm not a whole lot. So Charles, I watched a bit of the Celtics game yesterday, and I had to turn it off after they went up by 30.
Yeah, there's no point in watching the rest.
But I have been getting into a lot of playoff hockey, and listening to Rick Grace from Legends Look Back talk about his Dallas Stars, and Carl talking about the Seattle Kraken back and forth is fantastic. So I think Game 7 is tonight. Or is it Game 6? One of them. I think it's Game 7, actually. So I'm going for the Sea Monsters. I'm sorry, I don't root for any Dallas team. I apologize. I am from Texas, but anybody in Dallas is like a continent away from me. So that's just how it was. That's how it works.
Is there a Houston hockey team?
There used to be.
Apologies for not knowing.
There used to be. They were a minor league / IHL / AHL team. So they weren't in the NHL. They weren't in the big league. But what
were they called?
They were the Houston Aeros. They were Houston Aeros. There was 2 renditions. They were in the 70s and the 80s with Gordie Howe. My parents actually went and saw them at the Summit that is now a church. And I went and saw them in the 90s, and they weren't really a competitive team. So what they would do to entertain the crowd was a couple of the players would get into a fight, they drop their gloves, and they get into a squabble, and then 3 or 4 other players would get into a fight, and the goalies would just be sitting there like, well, what do we do? So the goalies will meet in the middle of the ice and start fighting each other. They're just there to put on a show.
I went to Atlanta used to have the Atlanta Thrashers, and I actually went to a couple games back in the day. But I went to a Gwinnett Gladiators game when I was in college, and it's a minor league team in Georgia now, and dude, it was so much fun. I mean, I think it was way more fun than pro level hockey, because you're right, they have to entertain the crowd, so there's always multiple fights.
Right.
I'm like, it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
And for like $25, $30, you can sit on the glass and then just pound the glass whenever they get close. And there was a couple guys last time with my dad. This was probably a decade ago. They were sitting right behind the opposing bench, and they were just pounding the glass behind the coach the entire time. And the coach was just sat there and took it until he couldn't do it anymore. And he just threw his elbows back into the glass and just like trying to get these guys to stop. And it just made them like go even faster. So it's good stuff when you can just pound on the glass and try to scare the hell out of one of the hockey players. But most of the time, those things come in. Like there's some give on that glass.
Really
so if you put your face next to there, you might get checked yourself.
That's funny. That's fantastic. Well, it sounds like you guys have had interesting weeks. Lots of sports going on. There's a Formula 1 race next week, so that's about as much sports as I got. The Italian Grand Prix is this weekend. Well, Caitlin and I will watch that, which will be fun. Other than that, not a whole lot going on. I hope I don't get sick. I do think I'm fighting something off, so I hope I beat this. But let's talk about the folks who are not sick in our lives, the healthy people in our community. I don't know where I was going with that. That was my attempt at a transition. Let's talk about Patreon for just a second, because we have got a lot of big stuff kind of coming down the pipeline on Patreon. We've put a lot of work into kind of building out our Patreon this year. I mean, we noticed that our calendar has been a little weak in regards to live events and fun stuff. So we're trying to do something every single month at minimum. We have lots of stuff happening over there. Be sure to check out patreon.com/Utini for more details about what we have going on in our Patreon community. But we do have a couple of updates. Eric does have a Patreon event coming up at the end of the month. And we added a couple new patrons this week. We got one big boy too. Michael Fry joined the Jedi High Council as a monthly member. That's our highest tier we offer. It comes with a bunch of merch and fun stuff. So Michael, we really appreciate it. We get people that join the High Council, and it's kind of insane to us that people would be willing to support like that. And it's just fantastic. So thank you so much for doing that. And I think we shouted this out last time, but I'll do it again. Kyle Jory joined the monthly group for one of the tiers as well. And he joined right after the show was over last week. So appreciate you joining, Kyle. So thanks a lot for that. If you do have ideas about things you'd like to see on Patreon, be sure to DM Timothy in our Patreon. He is our Patreon manager. We don't have much news this week, but let's punch it anyway, Wes.
It's the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
Okay, this week has been a slow week in Star Wars news. Not a whole lot has really happened. I kind of did some digging right before the show to see if I'd missed anything, because it felt like it was exceptionally quiet. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong if we missed anything major. But something we did not talk about last week that we probably should have talked about is Carrie Fisher finally got her name on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood, which is kind of a big deal. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see some of those pictures?
Yeah. Mark Hamill spoke, and her daughter was there, right? I saw some of those things.
Yeah, right.
And it's weird to hear because we obviously thought she had a star on the Walk of Fame already for years,
that
right?
was literally everybody's reaction. We're like, she didn't have one already? That's kind of surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Like any of the main characters or main actors from Star Wars films, how could they not have a star on the Walk of Fame?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
apparently it's a bigger deal than...
Yeah, it's not a pretty place to walk right now anyways, you know what I mean?
Yeah, didn't you go out there at a celebration? You said it was gross, everything smelled like pee. And
it wasn't the greatest. We went to Scum and Villainy the day before the celebration kickoff, and we got there like 3 hours before they opened because who checks the website to see what time they open, right? So we perused the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and we were just, walking past things we needed to walk by, people shouting, people sleeping in the streets. It's rough down there, boys and girls. But hey, congratulations to Carrie Fisher. Get a star on the Walk of Fame.
It's still a big thing.
It is,
I think, to see. And it looked like Billy was really cool. I mean, she had that dress on. Did you see the dress? It had like Princess Leia on her dress. It was like a really funny looking thing. And I don't know, it's really cool to see that Carrie is still sort of in all of our hearts and minds, like in a lot of ways. So, it's crazy to think that she's been gone now for as long as she has.
No kidding.
So it's cool that she's continuing to be honored the way that she is. So really cool to see that. But that's really all I got. I mean, did you guys see anything else? What's that?
I'm just gonna pull it up, see what you're talking about here.
Oh yeah. See, so she's this funny dress.
Yeah.
Original Princess Leia dress. Yeah. Fantastic. I didn't notice C-3PO and R2-D2 in this photo before, I don't think. That's kind of random.
They're photoshopped in.
Oh, yeah, probably.
No way.
I know. But yeah, that's all I got. I think, unless I've missed anything, did you guys hear anything else that happened this week? I think that's it.
No, Eric tells me everything that happens. So.
There's one thing that we're doing next week in collaboration with Legends Look Back. So we're doing a collab episode with Legends Look Back in honor of the Essential Legends Collection, one of the books that's coming out, Yoda Dark Rendezvous. So we're doing a Yoda week, and we're entitling it The Yoda Years.
It's a lot of years.
Came up with that based off of the Wonder Years, so keep a lookout for that new graphic that's going to come out. We're going to post it on social media. But we're going to go over some of the Yoda content that's in canon on TLF, and then Legends Look Back. We'll dive into the Legends content about Yoda, some of the stuff you do know that you don't know. I wasn't going to make them read Yoda Dark Rendezvous and do a roundtable about it. I'm just like, let's just do some facts from Legends that, some people may or may not know, some of the books he was involved in, and then we'll do some of the canon references. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun week.
Well, we got to make sure we talk about how terrible he looked in Star Wars Rebels as well. So that's
it's canon. We can do it.
Point.
Save it for that week.
We'll just do nothing but pictures on TLF because we're idiots.
I know. Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Those crossover events are always fun with the other shows we have in the network, so it'll be fun to talk about that. Dark Rendezvous was actually pretty good too. I mean, that should actually be on your list. I feel like it's a pretty good book. It's been years since I've read it, but I remember it being very good, and I've seen everybody talking about it again. And some of those is down in my brain somewhere. Some of those story points are. So seeing folks talk about them, it reminded me that it was a positive experience. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Okay, well, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our new releases page on the site. It's got all the details about all the new stuff that's coming down the pipeline. We do have lots of new books coming out this week, but I think it's time to have a conversation with the robot overlords, because this week's episode is really supposed to be all about AI. Now, AI is completely taking over everybody's world right now. It's kind of insane. And I sort of meant this as a joke, and it turned into a real show. And Eric was hassling us later this week to come up with the show idea. And I was like, why don't we just ask AI to do it for us? We're all basically a bunch of robots anyway without Eric. So I thought it might be fun to actually physically put the robots in charge. So we're going to let ChatGPT decide what we're going to talk about tonight. And if you've somehow been under a rock for like the last 6 months and don't know what this is, I mean, ChatGPT, it's a conversational AI tool that OpenAI has developed. And it's trained on human language and data up to September of 2021. So if you ask it any data, it doesn't know anything beyond that. It cannot search the internet. It cannot look at answers. It basically has digested Google is kind of how I think about it, right? Now, earlier tonight, I asked ChatGPT to write us an intro for the show. So here we go. It's the ChatGPT intro to the show. The Texan one earlier was also ChatGPT. That was pretty good. So here we go. In a truly groundbreaking experiment, we have enlisted the help of AI, harnessing its immense capabilities to determine the course of our conversation tonight. Drawing inspiration from the vast depths of Star Wars lore, our AI companion has analyzed troves of data, traversing the vast reaches of the HoloNet to unearth exciting, mysterious, and even unexpected topics to explore. With a dash of daring and a sprinkle of the Force, we relinquish control and embrace the unknown. It is time to journey beyond the binary code and tap into the limitless imagination of artificial intelligence. Together, we'll explore uncharted territories, speculate on fan theories, discuss beloved characters, untangle intricate storylines. Jesus, how long is the show going to be? And perhaps even unravel hidden secrets within the Star Wars universe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Living Force Unleashed, powered by AI. Let the AI discussion begin. So, I've used ChatGPT a lot over the last 6 months to write emails and start brainstorming stuff. It's a tool. It's a really cool tool that you can use to kind of get a kickstart going for your creative soul. So the key to ChatGPT, in my experience, is writing a good prompt. If you want a good answer, you have to write a good prompt. Now we're going to give it 3 prompts tonight, but I only wrote one of them worth of crap. The other 2 are awful. So we're going to see if a good prompt gives us what we want, or if we want to go with the stupid stuff. So round 1. Wes, are you gonna do this live?
Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to send me the prompt and then I will paste it in there?
It's in the show notes. You see in the show notes?
Yeah, I got him.
Let me also just say, while you're looking for that I don't think anyone would ever accuse AI of being humble after that intro. I mean, holy crap! Talk about overselling something, guys. We're gonna have a jokey 1-hour conversation. That's what's about to happen. Okay,
that's exactly what's gonna happen.
We're not untangling the mysteries of the universe.
So this is you're in 3.5, right? Okay, here we go.
So this is ChatGPT. I'm just gonna type the message in.
You can copy the bottom here. All right, so the prompt for our audio listeners, the prompt is: tonight, Charles, Wes, and Corey are hosting The Living Force, the premier Star Wars podcast produced by Utini. We need 3 interesting, intriguing, thought-provoking, and perhaps even controversial questions to discuss on the show. Write 1 question for each of the hosts to lead on tonight's show. That's the prompt. Whatever comes out of this, fellas, here we go.
All right.
Drum roll, please. Okay.
Make sure there are no typos.
Oh, question for Charles. Question for Wes. I was about to ask you how they know my name, but it's in the prompt, so.
It is in the prompt. Right, zoom in on that so we can actually see it.
Here,
all right, here we go.
Am I first?
I guess you're first. I mean, that robot says so.
Okay, robot has decided I'm first. Question for Charles reads: in a galaxy far, far away, the Force is depicted as an energy field that binds all living things together. However, some fans argue that the Force is just a form of magic or supernatural power. What are your thoughts on the nature of the Force?
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
It's so deep.
Is it more scientific or mystical? And how does that affect our understanding of the Star Wars universe?
That's like, what is the meaning of life?
Right? Yeah.
I've watched a lot of these videos when other content creators do this, and the moral of the story is supposed to be that robots suck. The AI is not very good. We're never going to be replaced by robots. Fellas, I got some bad news.
Yeah. I mean, the grammar's perfect.
We're literally discussing a galaxy far, far away where they're surrounded by AI, and we're saying that's not going to happen. So basically, to boil it down, if I may put my dumb human brain to the task, is the Force more scientific or is it more magic? I think it's kind of what it's asking it, right? So
magic.
It's a great question, actually. Let's just gut reaction answer. I think just right off
magic.
Yeah. I was gonna say science, actually.
All right, magic for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, ooh, but it's not really magic. Magic.
Can we add a third answer?
Is it magic or is it science?
Because you're born with it, right? So it's not
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Well, that could be.
I'm a very
magical, I
I'm a
guess.
very like I don't know, literal person. So like I feel like especially in the last I don't know, maybe decade of Star Wars content that we've gotten, like I think things have been ever since the midichlorians were introduced in the Phantom Menace. I feel like we've been getting closer and closer to science. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's been more of this like even the world between worlds stuff almost has scientific explanation at this point.
They're trying to
And maybe
measure
that's
it.
just the
Hmm.
yeah, I know has been measured. And like Anakin is the chosen one. Then there was the brother and the sister and the father or whatever. And that couple arc, the what's it called? The Mortis
Yeah, the
arc.
Mortis, yeah.
The Mortis arc where Anakin, like even that is almost an explanation of like stuff that we're not supposed to have an explanation for a little bit. So that is fans like original complaint though about the whole midichlorians is like, you know, Yoda explained the Force to Luke. He's like, the Force that flows through all of us, the rock, the tree. You know, it's like, and Qui-Gon's like, he has 100,000 midichlorian count. It's off the charts. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so I knew midichlorians were going to come up right away, right? I definitely agree with you. Upon introducing the midichlorians, it does kind of answer. I mean, it's quite literally a symbiotic relationship, right? With a smaller organism that lives in your bloodstream, basically, or
Right.
within your body.
like the Gungans
But
and the Naboo, you know, that inferior
yeah,
race of people that lived on that planet. Yeah, exactly like that.
yeah. But what's interesting is I think it's hard. The words magic and science are a little difficult because like magic, the first thing I think of is like a magic show or a magic trick, and it's not that. I mean, I
Rabbit
think
in a hat.
yeah, it's and like with that, like yes, you explain how they do it and it loses its luster, right? You're not impressed anymore. A magician should never reveal their tricks. But I think what this is really getting at is not so much magic, it's more so like the spiritual nature of
Yeah.
it,
Mhm.
if you will.
Yeah.
Because like for me, even if I understand maybe why someone has a high midichlorian count or whatever it is, like even talking about Anakin, right? Like he was the chosen one from a prophecy, which is not scientific at all. I mean, that's entirely spiritual. And I mean, you could even say religious. And on top of that, we also know from I think it was the Kylo Ren comic. Y'all might have to check me on that in the chat, but there was that quote about like everyone has their door to the Force, right? And it's just a matter of like how far open does that door get for you? And
Right.
it's easier to open your door if you have more midichlorians, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be Force sensitive or that you're going to be the strongest Force user. So I still think there's a really healthy part that is spiritual to it, and I think
Yeah.
it's important to keep that too.
Yeah. I feel like if you are attuned to the Force, you are using the life force around you from other things in your. So there's no really scientific explanation of using other life forms and their force. I guess that's what you want to define it as. Kind of using their energy as to be able to push, pull, manipulate, stuff like that. So there's really no measuring in that. The only measuring that they brought up, like you said, was the midichlorians from episode 1. And I mean, I don't know. I'm really indifferent on that whole midichlorians.
Yeah. I don't really care either.
Yeah, it's just
I think you
just
can have
is.
both, right? You can have
Yeah,
science and
for sure.
and
Oh, it's
spirituality.
definitely both.
I think
It's
I think that it's interesting that the way that people in universe like talk about the Force, like because there is both, like in a lot of ways. Like I'm thinking of an example of like all the Jedi talk about it in a very emotional, spiritual way. Like you have to listen and hear and become at peace with the Force and that sort of thing to access it. But they also talk about it in a quantitative way a little bit. Like they say that Anakin is strong in the Force, right? Like they're actively discussing the amount of Force power, how big his meter is on the screen, you know, like that's what they're describing, right? Is like, you know, so like, and the way that they talk to Padawans too about learning how to do things in the Force, like it is there is a logistic like instruction for how you levitate an object. Like that's almost scientific in a little bit of a way, right? So I don't know,
It's
maybe
like
this-
learning a
okay, yeah.
math equation. Yeah. Or a spell. But you know what's weird that I was just thinking about, because the midichlorian thing did largely get abandoned, right? I mean, like it's not
well, fans
I
were
think
outraged about it. I mean, like it
yeah.
was,
But it's not like George cared that fans were outraged with other things. Like, but for some reason that did fall off. And I think there were like some theories or rumors that like his later movies were maybe going to delve even more into like the microbiome of like what is the Force. But
that was his
anyways,
original plan, right? Like
Right,
that was
it
originally
was,
what he
right?
wanted to do. Yeah.
yeah, which would have been wacky as all get out. Who knows? But if anyone could have pulled it off, it would have been him. But all that to say, how far does the midichlorian thing go? Because like, does the Jedi Order know every Padawan's midichlorian count, or was this a special
that's
thing
good.
they did for Anakin? And if it's general knowledge, like, can layman's go see their Star Wars universe doctor and be like, I want, like,
My
the way you would go
midichlorian.
ask your doctor, test me
Hey,
for
listen.
diabetes. You'd be like, what is my midichlorian count?
Listen, I've been listening to the Andrew Huberman podcast, and he's like, got all these guys on there. He had Qui-Gon on there last week, and they were all talking about how midichlorians is directly related to longevity. I mean, can I check that now? Like, can you check my midichlorian count for me?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Can you
Like, is
inject
that
me
a
with
thing?
midichlorians so I can be big and strong in the Force, like Qui-Gon?
Like those testosterone commercials that are on late at night.
New
Oh, yeah, you'll for
Frank the
sure.
Tank Thomas.
You'll for sure get like a bounty hunter or something that's selling snake oil. It's like that gets you like or Frank Thomas that gets you to sells you midichlorian pills.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that would have to be general knowledge, right?
Yeah,
So
for
like
sure.
that also begs the question. You know how they were like stealing babies, Force sensitive babies? How
Stealing 'em.
Palpatine was doing that.
They're climbing in your windows and snatching your people up.
Well, did they find? How did they come across that list? Like, is there a heel
don't know.
stick the way there is for newborn
don't
babies? And they're like, yeah,
Maybe
Force
so.
sensitive.
I don't know. There's
Like-
a lot of that kind of stuff that's not explained. I remember there was I think it's a Legends book that has this reference to this guy who committed some kind of terrorist act. Like he had hostages on a roof or something, and he was like demanding to be let into the Jedi Order. Like, is this ring a bell for you guys at all?
Nope.
Definitely not me.
Maybe it's not hostages, but okay, that must mean it's Legends then. So anyway, this guy he was like threatening to jump, or he had hostages or something and he was like, you have to, I want to be a Jedi. He was like crazy and delusional. And
Let me in the
everything, right?
club.
And I know exactly.
So let me get
And,
this straight. He threatened to jump off of a building to a bunch of people who could use their Force powers to grab him out of the air.
That's correct. The
Okay.
point is,
Just wanted to fact check
he was
that.
crazy, but that's actually not the point of the story. The point of the story is the Jedi brought that stupid little women's razor that Qui-Gon used to test Anakin with.
Oh yeah,
Gillette.
He
The
brought that
communicator.
the Gillette razor. Yeah, they brought that to the roof and they tested this guy's midichlorian count. He had trash numbers. They were just like, ooh.
Wait,
you
so
just wanted
if
to
he
cut
had
off, right?
good numbers, they were gonna be like, yeah, let the crazy guy in. Like,
I don't know. I think he was
Actually,
just
this
using-
this is
They
the
didn't
most
think
we've
it
ever
through.
seen
are
since
you
Anakin.
entertaining this?
I have no idea what that's in. It's like not part of the story at all. It's like a side reference in a story, but I
It's in
remember that.
Yoda Dark Rendezvous comes out next week. No, it's
That'd be
not.
really-
Don't
that
actually
would be
buy the
really
book
funny
for
if
that.
it was. Actually.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, that's a good question though. That's a good question. I gotta say,
That's really good.
that's a fun question.
That's a whole
think about.
episode question, is what it is.
That
It
really
really
is.
is, because you could really go in deep with like talking about the details of the Mortis arc and all that stuff, man. Like, yeah, for sure. All right, Wes, what has the robots got for you?
Question for Wes. Star Wars has always explored themes of good versus evil, light side versus dark side. But what if the lines between these two sides were not as clear cut as we've been led to believe? Can the dark side be justified in certain circumstances, or is it inherently corruptive? Let's dive into the shades of gray within the Star Wars moral landscape.
All right, that
Anakin
last sentence was
Skywalker.
definitely- Yeah, that's fair. That last sentence was definitely written by a robot.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the shades of gray within the Star Wars moral landscape.
Oh
Yeah,
Lord,
okay.
that's like a thesaurus this word, thesaurus that word, and dive into is used way too
Trying to-
much.
So,
I know, you
so
need
wait,
a-
gut reaction again. We all have to give a gut reaction. Is the dark side all consuming, or is it okay to use sometimes? Right?
I
That's
think
what it's
it's
asking.
I think it's gray.
Oh yeah,
I think it's okay to
I think
use
it's
sometimes
totally
for
great. I think
sure.
it's okay to use sometimes for sure.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and I think the Jedi maybe are, you could use the word dogmatic to describe them, perhaps even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know who said that. Somebody important, but I do think that I think maybe the Jedi such narrow view of maybe the Force kind of led to their downfall in a lot of ways, and that's the hubris of the Jedi, right? That Yoda talked about. Like,
So
we
if
all agree that their attachment issue is kind of a problem, and I think that kind of leans into dark side stuff ish, I guess.
if they explored the dark side as a Jedi and like as a group of Jedi, does that deem them like unworthy of being a Jedi or unworthy of being on the council?
Yeah,
because like there is that narrow. It's probably not a narrow lane as a Jedi if you only look at the light side, but then there's that other side of the Force, and I think that the Sith had it right. Why don't you explore everything? Not just be, just that one part of the light. Just explore that. But if you use your emotions to help you, lift things higher or heavier, or if you use your emotions to help save the ones you love. So it is definitely gray. There are like many examples. So we just had one with Jedi Survivor. We didn't just have one, but it's Cal Kestis' new master. So she delved with the dark side a couple times. I think in Battle Scars and a couple times during the video game. Jedi Fallen Order, not Survivor. I haven't played it yet, by the way. I bought it and I haven't played it yet. But then ultimately Anakin Skywalker. That's the main example that comes to mind. And then we have
Quinlan Voss.
Yeah, notable Jedi that have fallen to the dark side, like Dooku. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, I guess. So,
The Lost, all of the Lost.
Ooh, the Lost,
or most of the Lost.
Okay.
Well, this is the Jedi are hypocritical about this. I'm freezing up here, but that's fine. You can still hear me. The Jedi are hypocritical about this because think about this. In Dooku Jedi Lost, y'all remember the Bogan collection? Y'all remember that? And it's come up a bunch of times in canon since then. They quite literally in the archives have a collection of all these dark side artifacts. So it's like some innocent little Padawan is coming up to Jocasta Nu, and it's like, hey, what's that back there? And she's like, nothing. Don't check behind the curtain. There's nothing back there. And it's like, why do y'all have that? If you can't learn from it, why do you have it, right?
Almost somebody has to study it, right? Like to understand it, know a little more about it. Like I tried to look this up, but I couldn't find it. There's a really famous, Charles, you might know this. Let's talk about a lot of medicine. There's a really famous researcher in like the 50s or something that got like a bunch of government grant money to literally just do all the drugs. Like he literally just did LSD and all this stuff. I think it might be Thomas Leary. I'm not sure if that was who it was, but anyway, this guy he wrote a lot of the original research on this stuff, and but he did it. He was a clinical psychologist, right? So like somebody has to study it, right? So like, are there Jedi that study the dark side? That's what they do. Do they dabble a bit, if you will? I mean, to understand it. I mean, surely that's useful academic knowledge, right?
Yeah, it is useful. I mean, how do you know that
Timothy
it's bad?
Leary, somebody in the chat said it. Yeah.
How do you know if it's bad if you don't even know what it is, right? But that's that's the big hang up here. Is just like, how do I put this in a different way than what I've already said? Is there are a lot of examples of people using the dark side where it helped them in that scenario, and they did not go full dark side. Anakin is the worst example there. He did go full dark side. He went full Sith.
But not every time. Not until the last time, right? Not until he crossed the line. But that's the thing, right?
But they would argue that he had gateway dark side moments, and that it led to that, right?
A lot of those are in the Clone Wars too. There's a lot of instances in the Clone Wars that.
He force chokes a lot of people in that animated show. That
and murders them
from behind.
What? He was going to blow up
that is my favorite single Anakin moment in the entire Clone Wars show is when that lightsaber comes through that guy's chest and Obi-Wan goes like as if it's a huge joke. He just murdered this guy. Obi-Wan's like, Anakin. I was like, what? He was gonna blow up the ship. It's like we're just gonna blow right past this. Jesus, guys! Like, Oh man!
But they
that was
did. They did add in the Imperial March, like just a little bit of a hint of the Imperial March when he did that. I love that part.
No, that was great. That was great.
Charles, you were
So
saying.
I don't know.
Sorry.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, as they say.
Is
right?
it
So,
is it canonized that the Jedi Temple was built on top of a Sith temple? Is that canonized? Is that just in Legends?
That's a good question. I don't know if that's canon or not.
Hmm.
My Star Wars runs together pretty
There
hard.
was there was something in the High Republic that had to do with what was.
That's right.
underneath
Yeah,
the
that was in the
temple,
High
wasn't
Republic.
there?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I
That's
think
right.
it
Because they talked about bringing the things that the statues that got the Grin gear or whatever.
Oh, that's
The
right.
Grin gear, yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Grin gear. Yeah.
Mhm.
They took them
Yeah,
below
they brought
the
them
temple.
back. Yeah.
God, it
so
seems like so long ago.
it's built on an Indian gravesite. As they say.
Pet cemetery. That's what Jedi Temple is. Pet cemetery. Bury them, and your pets come back to life.
Here's some more another interesting side to this question. Can dark side users use the light side effectively? Because we only think about this ever in the context of like
That's right.
the dark side has usefulness, right? Like when you're playing Star Wars video games, you have to go dark side so you can shoot force lightning because it's so useful, right? Because it has crowd control and kills everybody, right? But like,
Never
there
done that, but
instances in
yes,
which
I've heard.
is there instances in which dark side users may want to utilize the light side? And like, does that interfere with their
Yeah,
ability?
if they want to be a Force ghost and retain any of their
Ooh, that's a good one.
self
Actually.
after dying, I mean, but they don't care about that because their entire purpose is to not die,
Immortality.
right?
Yeah.
To begin with. But what's weird about this, and I don't know if this is as heavily addressed in canon. In fact, I don't think it is at all. But in Legends, right, there used to be all these resource books, right? That it was like Guide to the Force and this and that. And there were very specific Force powers that were thought to be like light side, dark side. And some of them make sense. Like the Force lightning makes sense that that's an evil thing to do because you're like legit electrocuting somebody. So, generally frowned upon. But there are other things. There are other things too, like controlling beasts, right? Like you could mind
or
control
healing,
beasts.
raise force healing power.
Yeah, and it's that kind of stuff. It's like
good one,
that,
Stephanie.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And who could do that and who couldn't? I mean, it depends on how you use that power, right?
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, that's true.
When you first asked that question, I was like, there really isn't anything that you could
Nothing
use.
useful. The light side
except
powers
for-
always suck, dude. That's
That's
just
a
how it
sick
is.
thing to say, guys.
Except for immortality. That's like the ultimate.
immortality.
If you're good
Although
your entire
that's the
life, you can live
irony.
forever.
That's the
Yeah.
irony of the Sith is
Yeah.
if they just turn to the light, they could in fact live forever.
This is also disregarding the numerous examples of Sith who appear to other people and like are in tombs and all kinds of stuff, like in Star Wars. So.
Yeah.
That's true.
Darth Bane.
They are
and,
actually more of ghosts.
rebels.
I know exactly.
They're actually
I
more
think-
ghost-like. Yeah.
A lot of them though are like in like holocrons and stuff like that. But yeah, no, the temple thing is true. That is
Okay.
troublesome. It's hard to move past the fact that they reside in their temples, but they're stuck in their temples, bro. They can't go wherever they
true.
want, like Obi-Wan.
I know it's true. He can just show up.
Travel the globe.
That's fair.
The galaxy. The globe. Okay.
Or the globe.
All right.
So
All
we
right,
have
I'm
a,
up. Here we go.
yeah, we have a question for Corey. Created by an artificial intelligence.
Yes, this is very small on my screen. Can you zoom in just a little bit more? Okay.
Hold on, hold on.
Zooming in. There we go.
Hold on,
Cut off.
hold on.
Oh God, I've already
scoot over.
seen the word Neimoidians. Where are we going with this?
Scoot over. Scoot over to the
Hold on,
right.
hold on,
To the
hold on,
right.
hold on,
Can't
hold
see it.
on,
You know, a little bit more. A little bit more.
hold on,
Backing up.
hold on.
Backing up. What is happening, Wes?
There, it
Okay.
should be
Show me
on
the
there.
prompt.
Why can't you see it?
I don't
What's
know.
the
I
matter
can't
with
see
you?
anything. The
There
whole
you go.
right side is cut off.
There you go.
All right, here we go. Star Wars is known for its vast and diverse range. I just kicked my dog underneath my desk. Sorry, Ray. Star Wars is known for its vast and diverse range of alien species, each with its own unique characteristics and cultural backgrounds. However, some critics argue that the portrayal of certain alien species, such as the Hutts or the Neimoidians, can perpetuate harmful stereotypes.
Oh,
How can Star
goodness.
Wars, we did ask you for controversial, remember? How
Yeah.
can Star Wars strike a balance between creating imaginative alien worlds while avoiding problematic representations? Is there room for improvement in this aspect of the franchise?
All right, gut reaction. Is there room for improvement?
Gut reaction,
Yes.
yes.
Yes,
But when I
actually have mixed
first,
feelings about this.
yeah, when I first saw the Neomordians in episode 1, I didn't think two ways about it. That's just how they sound. I didn't put them to a particular people or race
How
or
old
culture.
were you though? How old were you though?
Was I 16,
I was
17?
6.
Yeah, you friggin' child. So, I mean, I didn't think one or two ways about it. I was like, that's an alien, and that's how the alien speaks. But I can also see another person's point of view where that could be a stereotype against some other people.
Yeah.
It could be. So
Yeah.
and then looking at the original trilogy, I didn't really even like the Rhodians. The Rhodians had like a dialect, but I didn't really pin it on any kind of on a culture or a certain people. So, I mean, yes, they have room to work with, but I mean, I don't see it. Sorry.
My only
see
question is why are Twi'leks all French? That's a very interesting decision.
Are they French?
They are definitely
a lot
French.
of them are French. Yeah.
Oh,
They're
okay.
definitely French.
Yeah.
Like I don't, which is very strange.
Well,
I think the challenge as a creator and with this sort of thing is that like you can only be so unique because I think you're probably drawing to create dialects and alien species and that sort of thing. You're drawing on like inspiration in a lot of ways, and it is a fine line to walk. I think the Neimoidians are certainly the most problematic, at least in memory that I can think of on screen. But it also referenced the Hutts in this, the robot.
Yeah, the
referenced
Hutts.
ChatGPT, which I'm not really sure what that's getting at. Is there a
That's either.
legitimate criticism of that?
That I don't
know what
know.
that's
I can
referenced to.
see that Jar Jar, maybe Jar, and the what the hell are they called? How do I not know that?
What, Gungans?
Gungans, yes.
in general.
The Gungans in
Yeah.
general, like that can be seen as a stereotype.
A harmful
So-
stereotype.
Yes, a harmful stereotype. But I mean, I'm trying to think of
Room
some
for
other ones
improvement.
besides those.
Having a very diverse creative department is what fixes this, right?
Yes.
Having people that are not just going to say yes George is what fixed this for the sequel trilogy, right?
Mm.
Because I don't think we have this type of issue in the
Well,
sequel
Well, I
trilogy.
think another thing to point out though is that it to a certain degree, and let's recognize the irony of three white guys talking about
Oh
this,
yeah,
right?
I
Let's
meant to start with
recognize
that.
that.
Of course.
We are not the best people to be giving our opinion on this, but the robot told us to do what the robot told us to do. There is also, I think, a difference between like infusing a creation with some real life aspects to it that celebrate
French,
that thing
yeah.
or that are detrimental towards that thing. And in the
Yeah, that's
case
true.
of like the Gungans and Jar Jar in particular, you're constantly pointing and laughing and talking about how dumb this
Right,
character is, right? That's very different than like, you know, I don't making it the hero of the story. You know what I mean? So there's a fine line not only with how much do you pull from real life, it's what sort of reaction are you looking to get from that?
Yeah, and the Neimoidians they're not capable, but they're kind of like they're weak villains and they're easily
Yeah.
dispatched. So there's
They're always
a similarity
cowering
there, right?
before Palpatine. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's important. Those are the biggest examples, I think, though, is the Neimoidians and the Gungans.
In the original trilogy, there is is it the Sullustan? No, Nine Nub. What's his?
Nine
That's not a
Nub, yeah,
Sullustan.
he's-
Is it Sullustan?
he's a
Is that what that is?
He is, yeah. That sounds
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Sullustan,
Sullustan,
yeah, with
yeah.
the cheeks.
Yeah, Nine Nub. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was criticism of him
Gee,
him
I
being
can't
sort
do
of a
it.
Hispanic stereotype. I think was the talk about
Huh.
him. But
Well, I
he's
think
really,
it
really
depends.
mild though.
It depends on like what you're familiar with too. Like, this is a really random thing, but like the Geonosians, for instance, like with their language, how they do a lot of clicks and things. Like there are dialects that use clicking like
right.
in
True.
real life. You know what I mean? Like Kosa is one in like South Africa, for instance, that uses clicking like that. And it's like, was it bad that all the Geonosians were painted as like a bad species and they did that? Probably just as bad as any of the other stuff. It's just that not as much attention is
Yeah.
kind of pointed towards that.
That's fair.
That's true.
That's fair. All right. Well, enough of this controversial topic.
Ask it for a fun question to
I
end
know,
on.
that's
I
my
don't wanna
next
end
one.
on this.
That's my next one. The round 2 is this is a bad prompt, but it's simple. So you have to open a new chat to do this, Wes, because
Can I open a new
it'll,
one? All right.
Yeah, open a new one. Otherwise, it'll draw on the existing chat. So we're now going to ask it, give me 3 stupid topics for my Star Wars podcast tonight. We're going to see what.
Now this
what
I
says.
like. Now this is
Yeah.
podcasting.
This is podcasting. Here we go. All right. Number 1,
Oh,
Jar
God.
Jar Binks. All right, go back
Oh
up to the
no!
top.
Here, let me
Jesus
move up to the
Christ.
top here.
Jar Jar Binks, secret Sith Lord or galactic clown? Explore the ridiculous theory that Jar Jar Binks was not just a clumsy Gungan, but actually a mastermind Sith Lord pulling the strings behind the scenes. Discuss the outlandish evidence and have some fun with this far-fetched concept.
I'm shocked
Okay.
it pulled this.
Gut reactions. There's no way this is real, right?
no
There's no
way.
way that,
There's
right?
a slight
In-universe,
chance.
right?
No.
Right?
There is a slight chance that there is a Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks just because of the fan art that I've seen that's so well done. So yeah, that's the only slight chance I see because of the visual aid that I get. And
I think if you just finish watching the prequels and you read this theory, you're like, I see it.
Yeah.
Like that is technically possible. But then if you look at what they did in like the canon novels, for instance, like the Aftermath trilogy in particular, with where Jar Jar ended up, it's like, yeah, okay, definitely not a Sith Lord then. But the whole like, what is it called? Like I think it's like the Drunken Master or something like that. It's like a real thing in martial arts, right? We should ask Freddie about this. Oh my God. Okay. Wes just pulled up a photo of apparently Sith Jar Jar Binks.
that's
This
Sith
is
Jar
for
Jar
sure
Binks.
just like a face meld between Jar Jar Binks and like one of the Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, for sure.
I'll give you that.
Oh,
It's-
it needs a big white
It's too
handprint on their
hyper
head.
realistic. It's very hyper
know.
realistic.
This is nightmare fuel. is what this is.
But yeah, his clumsiness is the thing that like actually creates a bunch of chaos within all kinds of decisions that were made. So
Needs to
like,
be given emergency
clumsy.
powers to the Supreme
yes,
Chancellor.
yes.
I mean, it is hard to argue when he's got the droid wrapped around his foot on the Battle of Naboo and he's stomping and he's like just saucing droids with it, like perfect shots every time.
There was a book, I think it was the Aftermath books, maybe. Was it Aftermath books that Jar Jar was like a beggar in the streets or something?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was referencing. Yeah, he's like a clown for children. He's quite literally like a clown after everything that happened. So that's the biggest
I will not be
takeaway.
surprised if that gets retconned eventually, especially now that Ahmed Best is kind of like back in the scene, right? Like I would not be surprised if they did something genuine with Jar Jar's character.
Yeah, they should. Ahmed Best has been redeemed. Now let's redeem Jar Jar himself.
Could you spin this into a way in which it wasn't just absolute dog shit? Like, is that possible to do? Like, can they actually genuinely make him secretly a Sith Lord Dark? Is that possible at all? I don't think it is.
No. I just only if that picture comes to life. That's such a good picture. So, but there's really no way. 99.9% chance that he.
I think if you were
cannot
going
be
to do it, that would have had to have been something you wrapped up by the end of the trilogy. Like if you introduce him as the goofy sidekick and then it turns out he was behind it the whole time, that's like a good, interesting story. If 40 years later, you're just like, surprise, he was evil that whole time. It's like, no, absolutely not.
Not even in
But
the
maybe-
comics could they do that.
Maybe he could be like a pawn for Palpatine or something. I mean, they are both from Naboo. I mean, that could maybe work. Like he was like spying on him. He was like an apprentice of Palpatine.
Or that he was just so incompetent that he was manipulated that way to thinking that he was doing
yeah.
good.
Maybe he
So
thought
interesting.
he was an apprentice.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
All right.
All right. What else we got?
Number
Or
2.
Wes, you take the next one there.
Star Wars Yoga. Master Yoda's secret workout routine. Imagine a world where the ancient Jedi Master Yoda has developed his own unique yoga routine. Now, Yoda yoga is throwing me off. Discuss hilarious poses like floating levitation pose and lightsaber warrior pose while sharing imagined testimonials from Star Wars characters who have tried the workout. Bonus points for acting out the actual pose in your camera.
Oh my god.
Okay. They know where They know we're on camera.
No, I added that part. You weren't reading along.
Okay. Oh, I wasn't reading it.
Sharing imagined testimonials from Star Wars characters who tried the workout. All right, that's an interesting idea, actually. Han Solo would never agree to do yoga. Just never.
Absolutely
not a million years. Not a
Who
million.
Although
would do yoga? Who would do
Lando
yoga?
Calrissian would
Oh,
do yoga.
dude,
for
Lando
sure.
100% does yoga with Yoda. 100%. He would be into it, man. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
He would talk about how it, like, all the health benefits and how the ladies really are into it. Like, he would have a whole spiel.
Yeah.
Like,
just
don't
the,
ask Lando about yoga because he will never shut the hell up. Like,
just the seated style where they cross their legs is a type of yoga pose, I guess.
That's
So
true.
I mean, they do that from the beginning when they're being taught as younglings. So there's that. I don't know what you would call that. Seated cross pedal pose.
Crisscross applesauce.
Crisscross applesauce. You know.
I think Yoda's
Same.
best yoga pose was dying under a blanket. That's
oh my God.
that's probably his.
That's the
his
hardest to
best yoga
do.
pose.
Yes.
Holy shit, dude.
The
You
ultimate-
can only do it once.
Oh my
who-
God.
I'm trying to
I
think
mean, my
about-
favorite yoga pose are like the ones where like
Rest.
you're just resting at the end, right? Where
Rest,
it's
must
like
rest.
what is it's like there's like child's pose, right? I think it's the thing that I'm thinking of where you're like kind of just like laying like face down. And that's probably Yoda's favorite too once he's 900 years old.
Oh my God. Oh man.
I'm trying to think.
Obi-Wan would go occasionally whenever he was back back in town. Obi-Wan would go and he would harass Anakin. Come on, you have to go. Anakin's gonna whine, I can see
Padme would
it.
go though. He'd be like, Padme's going, and he'd be like, I'm there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh, there we go. Dead man's pose for that last yoga pose.
Oh, there we go. There we
Dead
go.
man's pose.
Yoda with yoga. That's probably gonna be a book eventually. If it
There
isn't
is a
already.
book about that. It's not a book. Yeah, it is.
Yoga Dark Rendezvous.
No, yeah, that'd be great. No, it wasn't yoga. I think it was more like meditation
Yoga.
stuff. Isn't there like a meditation Star Wars book by like
Yoga,
Ashley
you
Eckstein?
seek yoga.
Oh, that's
The
fantastic.
flyers would be phenomenal for these
Oh, they would.
classes.
If you search for Yoda yoga, there's lots of images of Yoda doing yoga. Oh, there's a
Well, of
great
course.
one. Oh my God. I'm seeing this right now here. Wes, look at this one. This one's fantastic. It sends. I don't know if it'll go. I put it in the chat.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I'm allowed to
Yeah.
show this.
Oh,
Oh my God.
All right. Give me a sec.
I'm
Here
glad
we go.
this is
Here we
taking a
go.
minute
Here
because
it
it
is.
allows you two to
Hey.
consider whether
Get your box off the screen. We can't see anything.
Well, they
Look at
can. You can't.
There you
Oh, look at his little. Oh, he has normal feet. I don't like that at all. I don't like that. One, he has human feet.
Oh, he
I don't
does
like
have.
that.
Well, you can't really tell. Those three toes could be tucked in underneath. You don't
True.
know. But the headband, come on.
I like his pink shorts.
I know the booty shorts. He's like the boom arm guy.
He
And,
is like the boom arm.
yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yoda
Alright.
is all about these. The other pose that I think you'd like is riding in a backpack. You know,
Oh, yeah.
just
Yes,
riding in a backpack.
he would have to do that pose to stretch himself out after not
exactly
being
that
stuck
knees
in a
to
backpack.
chest.
Yes.
It's not easy.
Oh man.
Number 3.
This log had a child. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that after this now. Seagull song. Oh man, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Oh God. All right, do we do number 3?
Number
All right,
3.
Last one, yeah.
All right, number 3, Star Wars fashion faux pas, the most ridiculous outfits in the galaxy. Take a humorous look at some of the most outrageous and questionable fashion choices in the Star Wars universe. Discuss characters like Lando Calrissian with his flamboyant capes, or Padme Amidala with her extravagant and elaborate gowns. Share your thoughts on these memorable fashion moments, and maybe even brainstorm some new outrageous outfits for future Star Wars movies. I mean, it's those pink shorts from just now.
I know exactly. This is an interesting question. I think, like, actually, as a real question, because I am continuously blown away with the costume design in Star Wars. Just like every single
Yeah.
new show that comes out, every new alien that we get, they just go above and beyond. And at Celebration this last time, when they brought, that was so cool that they brought those like 2 cosplayers or professional cosplayers onto the stage. You guys see that panel? They brought
Yes.
2 people out of the crowd, and they scoped them out earlier, and they brought them on stage, and they put actual animatronic Star Wars costumes on them. And had them like walk around and control it with the facial movements, and it was insane. It was like a giant remote control just to change this alien's face. It was just super cool to see that stuff.
Yeah, that was super cool.
And these people, they'll be on screen for 3 seconds. Like that's all you get.
Yeah.
Like
like
incredible.
Like the prompt said, a lot of Padme's hairstyles were like outlandish, something you would never really think of, and they were crazy yet they were elegant because it's the way that they were made up with the jewelry in it and the actual like the symmetry that they do with her hair. Another one that comes to mind is Chancellor Palpatine's robes / giant shoulder pads that he wears, right?
Yes.
What's he got in there? Pet goldfish?
My god!
It's
Dude, it looks like one of those guys that have been injecting
he looks like the guy that injects that oil into his muscles. And
He's,
that's what he
he's
looks
looking in like a funhouse mirror at like a state fair.
That's fantastic.
So yes, there's a lot of Palpatine ones where he has giant shoulder pads throughout the movies, and
I mean, he's
that's what just comes to mind.
Trying to distract from when he's become scarred and deformed.
I know.
You can't look at my face. Look at these shoulder pads. Though.
I have always thought that Luke had like a hidden fashion sense, because you cannot tell me that an all black outfit is not absolutely intentional. I mean, can you imagine going to work just all black turtleneck, black pants, black shoes, black tie,
like Gru from Despicable Me.
Yeah, exactly. No, you couldn't get away with that. Like, you can't get away with that. Like, that's not. You can't do that. Like,
you can if you can force choke the people that make fun.
Look at him. Look at him, all black. He's like, you know what?
How about his gold jacket that's made a big comeback in the comics from the
gold
medal
jacket.
ceremony? That thing was absolute fire.
It is. I know if they made that, I would buy it. I would buy it.
Bet
absolutely.
someone out there makes it.
I bet it's at a thrift store near you right now. You could probably get it for $15.
You can get a black jacket and a can of gold spray paint for like $3. Let's go back to the Padme thing for a minute, because it asked what are the faux pas, right? Like, what are the missteps? And Padme, her wardrobe has always interested me because she's such a person of the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's just part of like the Naboo culture and the history and all that stuff. But for someone who like so readily gives up her own power and like puts other people first, right? A lot of Naboo tax money is going to those dresses, and she never wears the same one twice. How is that? How does she swallow that like morally?
That's a good question, actually. Fantastic question. Because they look expensive. Her hairdo.
Yes.
Oh, they're expensive.
It is absolutely expensive.
I'm trying to pull up the one that's relevant to everybody
The
when
one-
you look at it.
The dress with the light up orbs at the bottom. Yeah. The one on the left.
The red one. Yeah.
Yeah, the classic kind of.
It's so iconic, though. It really is. Like when I think of the Phantom Menace, if I close my eyes and think Phantom Menace, I think of 3 things. I think of pod racing scene, the Darth Maul fight, and Padme's dress. Those are 3 things that come to my mind when I think of the Phantom Menace. I don't know why that is, but that's it. It's so iconic.
Because we didn't really see anything like this during the original trilogy, just because there wasn't like money to be thrown around to do this, or we didn't travel to the worlds that had that kind of stuff. If we did, I'm pretty sure the Empire would take it and then use that to make more ships or whatever. But
we never saw. I would like to eventually see that, I think, in some kind of canon material, like where we get to see like the Senate brought to life in like right before it was shut down. You know what I mean? Like right before the Emperor dissolved the Senate. Like, what was the Senate like? Because we got a small taste of that in Andor, right? We've got to see a little bit of Mon Mothma, but that's still pretty far back, right? Like sort of gluttony and like there were all these rich naughty people. Oh, I can't tell who's in charge anymore. You know what I'm talking about? Like that guy, right? Like, but I would love to see like what does the grandiosity look like in peak Empire from all these worlds that are just like benefiting off of the wars and everything, right? So
and the
fantastic.
quick change of points of view from a single from each person. We're like, oh, I hate tyranny in the empire. It's like, oh, but we do have to build these ships so we can stay safe from everybody. And so they just quickly just turncoats. They just quickly turn. That would be really cool to explore. I agree.
That would be it. But that is probably going to do it. I had another one here. It was just controversial Star Wars questions, but we already totally messed
dipped
up
our
last
toe
one,
in
so
that pond.
I don't think we're qualified to do that without Eric, frankly. So let's not go there.
One thing we did not do was show pictures of Eric at Disney World along with Emma.
Let's end on
we
something
forgot about
happy.
that.
Yeah.
Let's end on something happy.
So
that.
I don't know how soon or how far in what this was, but we have a picture of both Emma Park and Eric Iverson. It looks like they're in the line for Rise of the Resistance. So
And the same height.
And the same height.
So if one of them meets the
Emma's-
height requirement, they both do.
Emma's crazy tall, and Eric is actually a lot shorter than you think. And Emma's got a UTV backpack on too, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Repping the brand.
Yeah, they have pretty much all of the pins that you can purchase on their backpacks. So
weighs it
good
down
for them.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah. Nice.
Another one?
Them again. I think
Another
this
one.
is the one in front of the vaporator, right?
Is it?
It's just
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it
see it
is.
back
Cut
there.
off.
It's
Yeah.
hiding back there. Yeah.
That thing right
There
there.
it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Here, let me-
Nighttime. Yeah, they were saying that they got a late nights Olga's Cantina reservation, so
Oh,
they
that's
got to they let you in the park later, then so nobody's around. So that's like a cool thing to do
that's awesome.
if you're able to do it ever.
So they don't see you trip on the steps when you walk up.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're spending $400
Exactly.
for 3 drinks.
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Eric and Charlie are at the
Here's one. Yeah.
At the
the castle
castle.
too. I will say my favorite moment of their little trip, because this is not planned actually. Like they found this out like a month or something ago. They're both going to be in Disney on the same day, and they decided to meet up. So it's really funny that happened. Another hilarious thing that happened is that Parker on our team was also at Disney World, but not at Disney World. He was at Disneyland. So Parker, while they were in Orlando, was in LA. And he's got pictures of the Falcon. It's on our Instagram. You should go look at it. Parker's at the Falcon in his side of the country, and Emma and Eric are at the Falcon on their side of the country, and they've like staged it so it looks like they're kind of in the same photo, but they're like, where is everybody? So it looks like they arrived at the wrong time because it's nighttime in Eric's. It's just so stupid, but that's funny. Oh, it's really weird that multiple Utini folks are all at Disney at the exact same time.
Wow. Here's Eric and Batu. This is where
Mildly phallic statue, but all right.
this is where I bought my Sabak game.
Nice. Yeah, there's the Falcon too. Nice.
Got together at the Falcon.
Charles, have you been yet?
No, I was supposed to
Batu?
go in residency.
That's right.
And then that was when the pandemic hit. And so I did not go.
Yeah, nice. Wes, you went in California too, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah,
we
I
got
did
a
too.
reservation at Oga's Cantina at 8:30 in the morning, and we used it to all of its ability.
Nice.
This was the
Absolutely.
picture. This is one of the rides, right?
Rise of the Resistance, yes.
Rise of the Resistance. Eric said that one of the troopers said to him, "This is a hangar bay, not a hangout bay," because he was standing there taking a photo.
How many times has he used that? He probably says it
I
30
know.
times a day.
I know, but it's lovely.
That's hilarious.
That's great. So that was the last that we got from Eric. I'm sure
Nice.
not the last we'll see, but last I have right now.
He's actually dead. All right, so
Oh my
moving on. Hopefully it happens to
We
him for
tried
next
to
week.
end on a happy note,
I'm
and then you
looking
just
like a
hit us
real
with that.
asshole.
Oh my god.
Oh man. All right, folks. Well, that is pretty much gonna do it for this week's episode of the AI Living Force. I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with some of those question prompts. We might actually have to start using that tool to help us a little
They
bit.
were
here and
worded
there.
very well. They were worded very well.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some deep questions, and I think it's just really because we just don't handle a lot of those really heavy hitting questions here very much. But
Yeah.
that's okay. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. But
We should
Anyway.
start a segment on the show called "Hey, I got a question," but it's
Oh,
like,
that's
"Hey, I
pretty
got a
good.
question,"
Dude.
pretty
and
good.
one
Copyright
question
that.
at the end of every show.
You know what?
call
We
it
probably could do that. It could incorporate it somehow. into the scenes.
AIG88, if you will. I don't know. I'm not good at this. Anyway, that's gonna
Hey,
do it
I gotta
for tonight's
go.
show, guys. Let's get the hell out of here. If you're already supporting us on Patreon, thank you so much. Never ceases to amaze me how fantastic our Patreon community. I do want to give a special thank you to Brian Dooley, Earl Q. Wow, I'm going to butcher this really bad. Try this again. Special thank you to Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Carl Sanders, Zach W, Michael Fry on our Jedi High Council, and James T. Ashley, Ingalls, Colton Fry, Fife, and Chris Carrizo. Wow, Eric does this every single week on our Alliance High Command and their amazing support. You can find us on Twitter. I'm Eric Eilerson. I'm just reading the script. Corey is at Corey Melton, and Charles is at C. Hankel. Wes is at Boss West. Timothy is at TC Guthrie, but he's not here. I don't know why I read that. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, our producer and community manager. Thanks to Corey, Charles, and Wes for podcasting with me. I read it again. And as always, may the Force be with you.
First time we ever got through all the patron scrolls.